as Walter makes a run ahead of him. Bergkamp suddenly changed pace through the centre. It's Bergkamp! That's magnificent! The move, and then this, which left Dabby's ass totally stranded.
Hello, and welcome to our Bergkamp Wonderland and Arsenal podcast. My name is Karl, and joining me today to talk all things Arsenal and maybe deviate a little bit to laugh about Chelsea, because who doesn't like to laugh at Chelsea? It's Mr. Josh. Josh, how are you?
I'm all right, thank you. I've got through the fact that I think 20% of ABW tried to get me sanctioned this week. At least, I would say it's 66% of the total people on this podcast tried to get me sanctioned this week as well.
All right, Pythagoras. Calm down.
There you go. I know. But other than that, yeah, I'm all right, thank you.
Have you paid back all the dividends that you got from Danny? That's the question, really.
What I have done is all the Jaffa cakes he sent me in the past, I've managed to pile them all together since going through my system, and I'm going to post them later.
Danny's got a lot to answer for, and since I've mentioned your name, Danny, you're obviously here. How much bungs have you taken from Josh?
To get rid of the sanctions on him, because he's we know Jeff moonlights, but Jeff's top of his game, isn't he? Jeff's he's a mover and a shaker. He's a schmoozer, as some people like to refer. But Josh had to go and get written permission in triplicate from Soph and Kev to come on here, and I said no, we need to sanction him. So from now on, he's only doing the preview shows. That's the only podcast he's allowed to do until he learns his lesson, and I think Karl backed that. And henceforth, that will be your position, Josh. So your ladder can get fucked.
Wow. I assume they take place after this podcast. And yeah, I'm sure we'll find a preview show where I can attend and annoy everybody with my hipster ways.
It was quite a pile-on, though, wasn't it? Everyone agreed with me.
Yeah. I thought I was liked in ABW. Well, I didn't go as far as being liked, but you know, all of the two people that replied to your message agreed.
That's the kind of strike rate I like.
Just remember, Josh, as much as you may be liked or not liked, you'll always be more liked than Chris Carpenter.
I was going to say, if anybody's to blame for my behaviour in ABW, it's the man that brought me into ABW, and that would be Chris. So I would like you to take up all issues with Mr. Carpenter. For
Yoga nonce, as we call him now.
Still, I don't understand. In a room full of women, he managed to be the prettiest person there.
He was delightful, wasn't he? The most effeminate person in the room. The best hair.
I heard at one point a shark tried to eat him. It just looked like a tasty little snack.
Did. Mostly hair and bad tattoos. And ill-fitting trousers.
And that was the shark.
Oh, dear.
Oh, God, let's get on. So we've got two games to talk about and a plethora of things all Arsenal. And I guess we'll talk about the Wolves game. Sorry, not Wolves. We'll talk about the Leicester game first, briefly, that we played on Sunday, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
No, Sunday. So obviously it was a win, 2-0 win. Leicester haven't been that good recently, so it was one of those games that I personally wasn't really worried about. We came into it, Leicester. I mean, yeah, they've got good players, but I think they're in 12th or something along them lines, 10th or 12th maybe. So it's not like they were setting the world alight. You know, I remember towards the beginning of the season, everyone was talking about, they're going to be contenders for Champions League and all things like that, and they have fallen away very, very, very much so. I won't bother to go into the starting lineup because our starting lineup kind of picks itself for the last, God, how many games. But Josh, going into the game, were you any sort of apprehensive about Leicester coming to the Emirates and maybe picking up any points?
No, I wasn't that worried. We know Brendan's a fraud and their midfielders are a fraud. and their young French centre-back is a fraud as well. Although he's just come back and scored tonight. I think that was the real reason they had all of their eggs firmly in this Europa League conference pot, and the Premier League had come second. They'd Jamie Vardy was out injured and Tielemans was rested on the bench. I think he's still not necessarily at the level that some Arsenal fans would laud him in. But yeah, there were some big players that were missing from there. We knew who their danger men would be. I do still like the look of Harvey Barnes as a player generally. He was their danger man, and I think we contained him pretty well throughout that game. I think overall we didn't really feel threatened that much by Leicester, by how they were attacking. Our only real issue was trying to get past Schmeichel initially, and once he lost his head, that was fine. There was easy pickings from there. But I don't know, Danny, how you felt about the game. You've said that you've been on, was it 800 podcasts in 24 hours?
This is my 8th podcast since Sunday, most of which has been only one of them was any good. That was when I was a guest on the Villa one, which is coming out soon. I was a bit concerned because Vardy is on the comeback trail, and he played 60 minutes in the game before our one, and then he was injured again. And we know Sonchu is either really good or really bad. He's full David Luiz at times with giving stuff away, as we saw, is a bit of a nightmare. Maddison, he's the Chris Carpenter of the Leicester City. He's really, really good, but moody, and you never know which one's going to turn up or if they're going to turn up at all. I mean, Brendan Rodgers probably didn't even know that he was playing until he turned up. Said, "I'm here," walked straight into the team, like dear old Carpenter. And they had very little to offer, didn't they? You automatically think Leicester. You think 3 danger players: Tielemans, not Tielemans, Barnes, Vardy, and Maddison. None of them turned up. Their best player was old double-barreled surname bloke who was very, very good. Who?
Oh,
Jimmy Hills.
As I saw him once described, they have a wedding venue in midfield.
I remember the day when we used to count the number of double-barrel surname players we had when we used to do scores on the doors. Do you remember that one? Oh, I would like to do a new feature later, Karl. It's called Jack Wilshere Watch, letting people know what he's doing. But that's up to you, Karl, because you're the boss. You're in charge tonight. So I'm probably not going to get
Whatever happened to Loan Watch?
Gimli fucked it off. He said he didn't like it anymore.
Yeah, but he's not here now, so,
A separate thing. We've got so many on loan. You two would get to say hello and then goodbye, and the other hour and a half would be that. But Leicester are always one of those teams, Josh, where you never know which one's going to turn up. But it does look like Brendan is a little bit of a fraud because he can't turn them round, and they have got so many really good players there. And Kasper Schmeichel is one of my favourite goalkeepers. I think he's really, really good, but he didn't have a good game. And our team turned up, which was really nice to see. And we've done the double over him again, which is nice.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with most of what you said until you said Kasper Schmeichel's a good goalkeeper. I don't really like him. I don't like Kasper Schmeichel. But then I saw Kasper Schmeichel as a 12-year-old. Well, not 12. He was 19 when he was at Man City. No, Man City. And he got knocked out the cup. Knocked out the cup just after they got taken over. I was there as a little Brighton fan. They were in League One, knocking out the mighty Man City, and he was the goalkeeper there.
Were you there for it?
I was there for it. Yeah. And otherwise, every time I've seen him, he's turned into now just a guy that moans. He's not really good.
He's a shouter.
Yeah, he's a shouter and a moaner now, and everything's not his way. And do you know who my dad is? Kind of vibes. That's what I kind of get from him.
He's getting the runestones out and trying to channel his inner Peter Schmeichel.
Yeah,
but it doesn't really work. But I just liked him as a goalkeeper. I like what he's done with his career and overall. But I think he's on the way out. I think a lot of that team, if Rodgers is going to stay there, a lot of that team do need to be rebuilt, which is something that doesn't need to happen at Arsenal, Karl, because yet again, we've got 12 players, and 11 of those 12 players are going to start every single game. Is that a good thing?
Yes and no. What I don't want is us to become too predictable in the way that we play. I mean, yeah, I think the 12 players that he kind of rotates, well, apart from Martinelli and Emile Smith-Rowe, they're the ones that you just don't know about. Emile, we'll get into how good Martinelli is later, but I think it was once Emile Smith-Rowe gets up to fitness, because he's had a few niggles, like I think he had a knock a few weeks ago, and then also he caught COVID. I think it's one of those good problems to have of who do you start. I mean, you could rotate any of the three, Odegaard, Martinelli, and Emile Smith-Rowe, but for me, you prefer Saka into that as well, because the games are coming thick and fast now. I mean, we played on Wednesday and we're playing Saturday morning. The recovery time is minimal, absolutely minimal. So I think you're going to need, players to come in and play a part. And maybe not wholesale changes. I totally understand that, but you are going to need some sort of rotation. We had it was almost like a jewel in the crown with a Partey goal against Leicester, which, I think this man has taken, I think at last count, it was 7,500,074 shots at goal. And let's just say that he wouldn't do too badly playing rugby with some of his shooting, but a good near post header, Danny, against Leicester. What did you think of that?
Stunning. I mean, first of all, I like the idea we're mixing up the corners. We've got the best. We conceded from no corners this season, and I think there was a stat that they said on the TV that I think that Leicester conceded from 15 corners this season. They're bottom in the league for corners conceded and goals conceded from corners, and a near post header. I mean, a near post corner. And then he headed it in, and you're thinking, yeah, maybe you should concentrate on doing that more than having shots and trying to take out Sputnik and all those other satellites that are roaming around in the sky that are now defunct. But it was an absolute dream watching him there, because he's finally in, and who'd have thought it, him and Xhaka having a midfield as two of our most inconsistent players, put them together, and they're playing magnificently. They're both getting the best out of each other. They've swapped positions, haven't they, Josh? The roles that they do. Don't tell him he's muted.
Okay, I won't tell him he's muted.
No. Oh, no. It's because I was blaming my mic and I didn't do it again. Where were we? Yeah, so Partey was playing as a number 6. That's kind of happened a few weeks ago now, because we've been playing... Well, we've been unchanged in our last 4 games now with our starting 11. So, yeah, with the kind of switch of position, I think it's helped us get the best out of Xhaka, in the sense that Xhaka loves to turn the ball over in dodgy places. And now that he's slightly further away from goal when he does that, Partey can sweep up, or we've got Gabriel or White who've got a bit more time to work out what's going on before they get into him. But yeah, I think that's the main thing, is we've managed to get Xhaka away from where he isn't necessarily as good. And Partey taking up that position. I think I said earlier in the season, I described him as, Thomas Partey was like having a Lamborghini in the garage, but with no wheels on it. It was great that you've got this great player, but if he doesn't offer anything on the field for you, what's the point of having him? He might be great, but if he doesn't do anything for you, we're better off selling than trying to persevere with a player who is on the wrong side of their 20s. And not playing into it, but he has really come to form now. He's showing the reason why we got him. Maybe it's taken him a longer time to settle, or perhaps it was the case of, he just needed Xhaka out of his space and allow him to free roam as well, because we see him kind of push up the field as well as just kind of sitting. He's not just sitting back and holding and playing those intricate passes. We've got everybody involved in the build-up now, and Partey's header that he got from the corner, he had other opportunities as well. You could see him getting into the box when needed and adding to that aerial threat, because we don't necessarily have it with Lacazette as our starting striker.
Karl, did you see that in the second half, Karl, where Xhaka was running through the midfield and they just let him do it? He's just running up the field with the ball. They went, let him, he'll be all right. Everyone in Rowe's Head, put a helmet on, he'll be fine. That's hilarious.
But that's a good thing. Like Josh said, I think they've changed roles a little bit, and I definitely agree with what Josh said, because Granit Xhaka has the opportunity to Granit Xhaka anywhere on the pitch. But if he does it higher up the pitch, then you've got more of an opportunity to win the ball back from the opposition. Like, no one wants him to do something silly on the edge of our area and then, creates chances or gives away penalties. And that's not saying that he's shirking away from his defensive duty, because he's not. He's still getting back. But I think with him just running up the pitch a little bit more or playing a little bit further forward, it stops. I guess it also stops the referees from, every time Granit Xhaka tries to make a tackle, it's automatically a foul. If he's not the main person to break up play, because obviously in the team, the main person to break up play now is Partey. And, Granit Xhaka, unfortunately, has got a reputation for, it's Granit Xhaka, he's going to get a foul. And he's still, he's still got it in him. We'll talk about the Liverpool game in a second, but, I think everyone saw in the Liverpool game, he's still got a little Granit Xhaka in him. But I think this him playing higher up the pitch is suiting him. But this is Granit Xhaka for all over, isn't it? Like, we go through like weeks of hating Granit Xhaka. Oh, he's shit. He needs to leave the club. Like, he's not good enough. And then he's not setting the world alight, but he plays well. And then it's like, oh, well, it's not that bad. If he give us another season, and if he could, play better, then, he can stay in the squad. I still think that if we want to have that number 8 person in the squad, there are much better players than Granit Xhaka. There must be players around Europe or the world to bring in that could, do the job that, Aaron Ramsey done in that 15-16 season where he was 15-16, yeah, where he was unbelievable. He was absolutely tremendous. So, yeah. Josh, quick one for you. Was it a handball for you?
Yeah, hit his hands. It was going in. Should have been a red card. Get them all off. If one of our players had done it, maybe not. Depends on which player did it. If Granit Xhaka did it, of course, we're all going, Granit, you fucking dickhead. What did you do that for, twat? I'd inevitably get sent off. But yeah, it was a tight one, but those are the kind of decisions. I know everyone was bemoaning, oh, it took 5 minutes to get to the decision. You know what? I'd rather have the fucking penalty than not get the penalty, because the guy punched it off the line. It stopped it from going in. It's one of those that, I'm very happy that it got called. Even more so that it annoyed Kasper Schmeichel so much, especially when Lacazette then converted the penalty, because he just didn't like it. It's like, oh, it's not fair. It's not fair that he sat me down. Oh, I didn't get to save it, ref. Fuck off. Even though he was about 3 foot off his line by the time Lacazette had stepped up to the ball. But yeah,
you'd have to be so angry if you were, because he really, Sonchu really stretched. It was Sonchu, wasn't it?
Yeah,
really, really stretched to try and get his fingers to that ball. If he'd have just kept a fist, he'd have missed it. But there's no way anyone could say that wasn't. I mean, even if he wouldn't have touched it, he still attempted to touch it, and that should have been a penalty. It's just because he couldn't reach it. But you see from the third view, because the commentators were going, oh, I'm not sure about that. And the third view, Alan Smith went, yeah, he's touched that. His fingers have just touched it. But to have your hand all the way out like that and then go for it like that, what does he think he's going to do? It's not the hand of God. You're not getting away with that anymore, sunshine. Nightmare.
No, I agree. Because the ball changed trajectory. You could see the ball was spinning one way, then when it hit his hand, it changed differently. So, yeah, definitely a penalty. Laka converted. I think that's his, 6th goal of the season, I want to say.
6th in the league, for sure.
Yeah.
Because I think he had 4 up until that point. But he's got a good number of assists. I can't think what the number is off the top of my head. I'm sure Danny could find it at some point. Don't know. He is currently mid-conversation elsewhere. He's probably moonlighting on. Oh, he's probably moonlighting on another podcast. That's what he's doing. He's on another podcast at the same time.
What do you want me to find?
Lacazette's assists for this season.
Okie dokie. People, if you want to go and find this stuff, a really good way to go and get it is go to Wikipedia and go to the French version, or La for anyone, because they have all of the assists as well. So this season, I think he's on about 6, isn't he?
6
Arsenal,
goals, I think.
20 in the Premier League, 22 games, 4 goals, 7 assists in all competitions, 28, 6 and 8.
So 7 assists was the big thing on there, and it's up there with Probably certainly more than Odegaard, up there with Saka in terms of number of assists this
I
season.
can have a look at the entire team on this one, transfer market.
Since
And the most
we-
number of assists is Lacazette 7, Saka 5, Martinelli, Tierney, and Odegaard on 3. That's
There we
league
go.
only.
Nice.
But he
Since
actually
we-
got, I was before that, Karl, just in his second season with us, he got 19 goals and 11 assists.
Mm.
It's different time in it. Like he's what was he then? 28, 27, 28. So he was a
That's when
spring
we were
chicken.
playing well. That's when we were playing well under Emery. If anyone remembers that day, first season of Emery.
Those days.
You see his result last night. His Villarreal went to Juventus and beat them 3-0.
Yep.
Turn them over. Lovely.
Get him back.
Oh gosh. Speaking of Odegaard, Danny, how well did Odegaard play on Saturday?
Odegaard, as he should be. He's filthy. He's a dirty, dirty boy. We saw in a game a few weeks ago where he lobbed the player, stood 2 foot in front of him, lift the foot. Is there a term for that, Josh, where you get the ball, you just lift it up in the air, straight up?
Chip it.
It's almost like you're picking it up with your feet.
Oh, lift it, maybe.
A lift lob.
Scoop it.
He scooped it over the head of the defender and onto an on-running Lacazette. And then when he did that little thing where he did the no-look back pass and then it went to someone, you think, this boy, he's loving his football again. And when he do that and the player's enjoying himself, that's when the little bag of tricks gets opened up and sprinkled all over the pitch. And it's a beautiful thing to see. And considering we are still getting better by the game and learning new stuff and gelling, you think, what if he's got someone in that midfield that is even better than Xhaka, who can rely on to cover him when he goes off on a run? It's just a magnificent player, and he only cost us 35 million, Karl. He's going to go, if he stays with us, which I think he will do for many years, he's going to go down as one of our Premier League best players, I think.
Karl, I know we said we were going to laugh at Chelsea fans this podcast, but can we also take a moment to laugh at Real Madrid fans who are now tearing their hair out that Edu turned up in a balaclava and a suitcase to Madrid in the summer and went, we had him on loan, really likes it here. How about 35 million? Go on. You want 75 million? Fuck off. 35 million. He doesn't want to be with you. He wants only one Arsenal. 35 million. He comes along here now and, as Daniel said, if you put him on the market now, how much are we taking for him? 100 million?
Yep. They kept Ceballos. It's normally be the other way around, wouldn't it? We get 2 players on loan, and then the one we get back is the one they don't want. This time, Edu, and people have moaned about Edu, Karl. He's got the little glass of whiskey and a cigar, and he's got the barbecue going. He's got his expensive Gucci loafers on. He's going, I'm doing things. He mugged us off in January, but this summer, that barbecue, he's going to be out that barbecue all day, every day, tweeting us, teasing us, because we move, Karl, in the summer for new players.
Yes, we are definitely going to have to move for players in the summer, mainly a striker, which we'll definitely get onto later. So let's just wrap up the Leicester game. I mean, for us, good win. It's put us back into 4th place ahead of Manchester United, which we should laugh at Man United as well, just because in the opportunity to get to laugh at Man United, we should always take that. So we left Leicester game, and everyone was a high, and then Wednesday, Liverpool. Before the game, Josh, how was you feeling? I mean, I'll tell you how I was feeling. I'll be very honest. I know hindsight's a wonderful thing, but I didn't think we'd win. I genuinely didn't think we would, because Liverpool are a different class. They are, I hate to say it, probably top 2 teams in the world, maybe 3. And they are magnificent. They've got players that they can bring off the bench and do whatever. So for me, what I wanted was a low-scoring game. I didn't want us to embarrass ourselves. I wanted us to make a good account of ourselves. I'm not stupid. I know maybe some Arsenal fans may be quietly optimistic. I don't think any sane Arsenal fan thought that we'd actually win against Liverpool. Maybe they did. But what about you, Josh? What was your feelings pre-game before we actually started?
as an insane Arsenal fan, I will start with that because they'll tell you where I'm going. I mean, I was one of those people that was unfortunate enough to see Liverpool twice in a week. I've watched more Liverpool games this week than Arsenal games because I was at Brighton Liverpool, and that Liverpool side was so ordinary. Didn't deserve either of their goals, but somehow didn't deserve. Well, they kind of deserved to win, but didn't deserve to score any goals. They didn't carve out any decent chances. So I was coming into it thinking, well, for the first 15, 20 minutes of the game, at the Brighton game, Brighton were all over Liverpool. They looked scared. I was like, if we can do that the same, maybe nick a goal, we got a chance to turn over this Liverpool side because they look ordinary at the moment. They do not look like the same Liverpool that you would have talked about maybe even 3 months ago. I think Salah looks utterly depressed that the better player in the team won the Africa Cup of Nations. And I think they've been really struggling in that regard. I think we can all say they didn't play well against us last night at all. I don't think they beat us with any additional quality. They didn't tear us apart. They got lucky, and that's the kind of thing that happens when you are a top. It's what makes, a great team into a world-class team, is that by hook or by crook, you get the 3 points. We saw it with, the Invincibles, that kind of era. You saw the Man United teams under Fergie. They all have it, that kind of, I have no idea how we lost that game, but the other team just did something. Wasn't even tangibly that good, but they weren't anything special, that Liverpool side. So I thought we did have a good chance. We've been able to close them down again. We're in a good run of form. I wasn't going to be disappointed if we lost, but then, to be honest, the possibility never really got into my head that we could lose it. It was more about, I thought we'd draw at the end of it because I think we wouldn't be able to keep them out. But fundamentally, going into the game, I thought a win was on the cards. And to be honest, if you spoke to me at half-time, I would have said exactly the same thing, that we will get a goal in the second half. Trent Alexander-Arnold looks like he is probably the fourth best right back in the Championship. Not, the fourth best right back in world football that he's potentially heralded as. He looked like the Scouse Andre Santos. The way that Martinelli was just completely ruined him for that entire 90 minutes. But that's what happens. You got players of other quality, and any lapse in concentration that we have results in us being punished. But Danny, were you of any different thought?
I'm just looking back at some of the notes that I made from last night. But Saka running down the right, wild down the right. Robertson can't handle him. And you've got a player on your hand. Because I always say that when you look at what we've got at Arsenal, we've got players in every position that are really attacking in their half of the pitch. And to have a player like Saka, and against most Premier League teams, he runs down the right side and cuts in and gets across it. And when he can do that against Liverpool, and Robertson, who is one of the best left backs in the country, and maybe like you were saying about Terence Trent D'Arby, maybe one of the best in the world, for him to do that over and over. And then I may have said that Partey and Ramsdale doing the quarterback thing, like we're saying that Xhaka and Partey have swapped position. And now with Ramsdale doing his long, accurate passes, because he's right-footed, he only does them down to the left. But then with Partey, he can do them in either direction. I suppose maybe Ramsdale could as well. But that gives us so much attacking scope. It is magnificent. And then the favourite bit of last night is they're attacking down their right with with Trent, and then Martinelli comes from our left wing, runs up to him, gets the ball off him, and runs away with the ball. And then Trent was probably thinking, bloody hell, that player is like someone said in the chat during last night, said that was a great trial for Liverpool. They're probably going to be very happy with Martinelli in a couple of years, because he ran them ragged, and he did 90 minutes, Karl. So much time in his career, he hasn't played the whole game either because he comes on or because he goes off early. But for him to play the whole 90 minutes against a team like that, and even in the dying seconds of the game, still be pulling that magic out. Magnificent audition for any other team that wants to come and steal him. And he's going to be one of the players that I'm going to be most worried about leaving, because he's got no loyalty to Arsenal, has he? Saka and Smith Rowe and Odegaard have, but yeah, I'm very worried because so many times he looked like Ronaldo when he was younger, didn't he?
Arsenal, so go on, Josh.
I was going to say, Marty said a couple of weeks ago he wants to finish his career at Arsenal. Stay here. The vibes are at that level that he's happy to stay at Arsenal for the rest of his career. I mean, it might be a waste, but I'm happy saying that. No, I'd be happier for him to be a waster. Arsenal, but yeah, sorry, Karl. Go in there.
If Arsenal are not in contract talks with him now, would be very, very silly, because I'm sure he's got maybe 2 years left. Danny, you'd probably have a look, but I'm sure he's probably got about 2 years left. So we should be looking to say, because there are sign a new contract, because there are definitely teams who are going to be in for him. There's no doubt that I think Liverpool, if Salah leaves, which I don't know if he's holding up for more money or he actually does want to leave, Klopp comes for Martinelli. I have no doubt about that. And they will offer an obscene amount of money because they know that we got no obligation to sell. So I wouldn't be surprised if you do see £100 million bid from Liverpool for him.
Oh, they have, by the way, they have fucked up Salah's contract, and I have no idea who's to blame. Is it Salah's agent or Liverpool? Because I mean, he's on the same.
Does he want?
He wants to be considered the same as Kevin De Bruyne and De Gea. Those kind of. He's talking like 300k plus. He's still on the first contract that he signed when he joined Liverpool. They haven't signed an extension since he's been there. He's still probably on something stupid like 80k or 120 maybe. But yeah, they've really fucked up. Salah's second season, he was top goal scorer in the league, and his agent didn't think to sit down with Liverpool and try and hash out an extra year and a wage bump. I mean, it
says here he signed a 5-year contract on £52 million a year for 5 years. That's £1 million a year. So if you divide $1 million by 52, 200 grand a week, possibly.
Yeah, and he'll want 300-400. And Grealish Grealish went to Man City and is on 300 grand a week now. He will want that same kind of thing because it's his stature. He's in world football, isn't he? He's like it or loathe it. He would have been up for the Ballon d'Or if Egypt had won the Cup of Nations.
Oh yeah, I think the problem is that his age, isn't it? Isn't he 31? And I don't think Liverpool want to give a 31-year-old, 300 grand, 400 grand a week. And I can kind of understand, but in the short term,
29.
I was 29. Okay, but in the short term, Salah's going to give you what he gives you, and surely he's going to want a 5-year contract or a 4-year contract, and he will just sit there. That will be him. I'm not saying Salah was going to regress at all, but he's going to think to himself, I'm on 350 grand a week. So
it's that fabled final payday. Noza says he's 30 in June.
Oh yeah, so there you go. That's him, and that's a lot of money to give someone at that age who potentially is only going to give you another maybe 2 to 3 years at the very top level. Because Salah's game is based on running. It's based on driving at players, and closing down players. That's what Liverpool do. At that age, how much can you keep it up? It's worrying. But like I said, if Salah does leave, then Liverpool definitely come for Martinelli. Or Saka, one of the two. And I was watching, at the end of the game, I was just annoyed and I wasn't really concentrating. And I want to see if Klopp would approach Martinelli. But the fact that, at the end of the game, Klopp came out and was like, I don't want to talk about his Trent's defending because Martinelli is out of this world. He's a brilliant player. And he spoke about him at the last game, and then speaking about him again at this game. It just makes me think, is he just putting out the sounders to show how much I rate you for when I come for you, or if I come for you. I don't like that. So
he said it for the past 3 games. Past 3 games that we've had against Liverpool, he has always said, I love Martinelli. But you know what, Klopp? Liverpool's a shithole, so he won't want to move there.
Yeah, I think Arsenal need to be definitely talking to Martinelli's contract agent and be like, here you go. This is what we want. Go for it, like sign. Because I know we're talking to Saka at the moment, but Martinelli, but even that, Danny, how good was he yesterday? He, like Josh said, he made Trent Alexander like look below average yesterday, like way below average.
It was almost like he could fit right into the invincible era of Arsenal. That probably 98 to 2004 era. He could have slipped right in there and covered any of those positions. Maybe wouldn't been quite as good because he's so young. But the likes of Ljungberg, Perez, and the other ones that came in those positions, they weren't that great when they started out. And he's had what, 2 years here. And he's finally producing the goods game after game. And that's why it annoys me. So many people were so down about that game, saying it was all over. For 54 minutes, we were the best team on the pitch by quite a way. And whether it was because Klopp decided that we're going to just like a child before bedtime, just let it have a run around, get all the energy out of it, and then they'll be knackered after about an hour. But for some of them to just carry on going the whole time. But as usual, like all the other games we've had recently, all of our players give everything they had. And they were unlucky with the first goal with Ramsdale. He should have stopped it or blocked it or saved it. It's a goalkeeper's always said that you never let them beat you at the near post. But I think maybe there was one of our, might have been Benny Blanco was standing in front of him. So that's maybe his only excuse, because you wouldn't have thought Jota would have shot from there.
He got a hand to it, didn't he? He got a hand to it and just didn't get it around the post. And it is disappointing that he conceded that goal. But then you think about all of the points he's saved us over this season.
He's had a clean sheet every other game, 12 in 24. For someone who's 23 years old.
We haven't had a goalkeeper like that since Chesney.
I think no one would be more disappointed that goal went in than Aaron Ramsdale. And he knows he should have saved that near post. And yeah, it was disappointing, especially because up until that point, we were by far the better team. Like Josh was saying, even I was a little bit optimistic and thinking, you know what, maybe we'll get something out of this. And we almost did. I think if Odegaard, when that stupid pass back happened and Lacazette should have put that in. If we had a better striker, a striker's putting that in.
Ian Wright would probably looked at that and gone, I would never have passed it to another player there.
Never. Like a better striker was going to put that into the back of the net, 100%.
I think Ian Wright would also be playing it back to Dennis Bergkamp. Slight difference. Martin Odegaard's good, but he's not Dennis Bergkamp.
Not quite yet.
I think that's the difference.
But, if Odegaard puts it in, it's a totally different ball game. And it's just fine margins like that. And that's what, once we missed that, I was on the phone to one of my friends and I said, watch the counter attack now from Liverpool. Like, you just knew that was a turning point. And sadly, he actually was. That miss in the grand scheme of things was really, not the best, unfortunately. And, Odegaard goes from, furthermore, it was a very good save as well. Let's not take anything away from Alisson.
He's probably one of the best goalies in the world. Do you expect it?
It was an absolutely brilliant save from Alisson, and I can't take anything away from him. But, sadly, we conceded the first goal, and it was just like really fine margins. Like if Cedric is not so far away from Jota, if he is a little bit tighter, Jota doesn't get in on goal. It was sad because, like you said, we were playing so well up until then. And what I didn't want is our heads to drop. We conceded, and what I wanted was like, all right, cool, we conceded. Let's go again. Let's recycle. Let's try. And to the best, they tried. They really, really tried, and they nearly kind of played Liverpool off the park again. I mean, Josh, when that goal went in, was your head did your head just sink as well, or did you think, "No, we're going to do this," or do you think, "Oh, fuck off, Jota, it's always you in it"?
As soon as we conceded the first one, I knew that was kind of it, because we'd had our opportunity to get that goal, and as soon as the game stretches and Liverpool can kind of dictate the chaos, then that's when you know you're done for. And because we then need to push, we weren't going to be like a lower league side that as soon as they concede the first goal, they're like, well, okay, that's the game plan out the window. Now it's damage limitation. We're the Arsenal. We are still, irrespective of our current positions or current failings, we still expect as a fan base to attack and win or go for a win against the top sides in the league. So I think that's the point. You knew Liverpool were then going to pick us off with another goal pretty swiftly after as well. And that's where I think, we see the second goal, the Firmino one. Just after Jota scores, they take him off. I think our defending could have been better for the Jota goal as well, by the way. We got completely done by the fake offside run of, was it Diaz? He goes for a run in behind, and that drags our back four a yard or two, which is what gives Jota the space to run into. Because before that, he was standing offside. But because someone had made a false run and our back line had stepped to go with it, it then gave Jota the space to run into. But yeah, it was pretty crazy. Afterwards. But yeah, Danny, what did you think as well?
One thing that made me laugh, I was trying to think of it, and we all know, I like a good analogy. We never need an analogy for anything. Arsenal are like the greatest boxer in the world with mixed MMA skills, and he gets in the ring, giving it all of that lot, and the opponents think, fuck, we're really in trouble here. And then you realise he's wearing oven gloves, and we're going to get absolutely nowhere. We saw that last night with that quickly taken free kick, where if that had been Martinelli or if that had been Pepe or any of that lot, that the quickly taken free kick would have gone to. But it was like Lacazette was in he was in a slightly different plane of existence. He was like half a second to a second off, and he went, I'll go after that. Oh, it's got right. I'm going to go for a sprint and then not do it, and then you realise, no, this. Yet another time where poor old Lacazette, I can't believe he's 30 and he's a burst of acceleration at the start. There's a word for that, and I can't think what it is. When you go, his acceleration from a standing start, and then the speed he gets to is so slow and takes so long to do. But anyone else in our team, Saka, Martinelli, all of these players would have been on that like a rat on a bumblebee, and they could have done something with it. But it was like dear old Femi, who was nearly going to join us tonight. I hope you've read the bedtime stories, Fem. He says, for mentioning the free kick, I said that straight away. That was, you don't get many opportunities, Karl, in a game to have a chance at scoring. And when you just look at it and go, now, we all love Lacazette. He's one of the most loved players at the club. He's got the greatest beard. He's probably the best looking bloke now that Chambers has gone. And then you look and you think, mate, we can't, I'm not paying you 180 grand a week next season if you want to stay for 1 or 2 more years when you do absolutely nothing as a striker. Now, he's adapted his game and he's doing all these other things, holding the ball up, getting assists. Yeah, we got Smith Rowe on the bench to do that job. We got Odegaard who can do that job. We need a striker who's going to get 30 goals a season, and he isn't getting 3 goals a season, including penalties, which is a shame because we love him, but we can't keep him, can we, Karl?
His sentiment, look what sentiment has got us in the past. You look at the Ozil situation, look at the David Luiz situation, look at the Aubameyang situation. So we've had our fingers burnt too many times by offering 30 plus age people contracts that we give it to them and they just don't do anything for us. And I'm not saying Lacazette as a person, I have no problem with, but the position and the things that we want Lacazette to do on the football pitch, he's not doing. We don't want. I know he's had a few some good assists this season. His hold-up play, brilliant, absolutely wonderful. but that's not what he's on the pitch for. He's on the pitch to score goals. And unfortunately, Arsenal do not have an out-and-out goal scorer, because Lacazette is that person. Yesterday, Lacazette, there was times when the ball was put into the box. I don't know if you remember that Martinelli, where he went past Trent, then nutmegged, oh God, who's the Liverpool captain? What's his name?
Jordan Henderson,
yeah. He nutmegged Jordan Henderson. And Lacazette is on his heels. Now, a good striker would have been on his toes and got in there. Look at Firmino goal. He was on his toes straight away, got his boot in, scored. And the other end, Lacazette doesn't do that. And that's the difference. That's the fine margins of what I'm talking about, where, you know, if we had a striker who, you know, was more forward thinking, it would be brilliant. You know, if Lacazette wants to be in the squad at the number 10 role, fine. If that's what you want to do, or the second striker, support striker, that's fine. But we need someone to put the ball in the back of the net. Eddie Nketiah is not doing that, unfortunately. And, you know, I think everyone has sort of spoken about whether Martinelli should play as a number 9. But again, is Martinelli disciplined enough? I want Martinelli to run at players and, you know, do all the trickery stuff on the wing. But is Martinelli good enough to play up front and score? I don't know. So it's hard, Josh, because, you know, like we said, I don't want to give Lacazette 180 grand next season. If Lacazette takes half of that, even a quarter of it, to stay at the squad, to be in and around, and you say to him from the get-go, you're not going to play every game. You're just not. And now we've got European football, because I think we'll get into Europe, whether it be Champions League or not. This is where you'll be. But, you know, does he go back to France and get a better payday or a better deal at France, somewhere in France where he's going to be good? I don't know. But for me, you know, Arsenal have a lot of shopping to do in the coming season, because we need a minimum 2 strikers. We have to, because Eddie's going, fine. Lacazette is going. Balogun, will he be
Balogun go out on loan? Balogun back out on loan in the Championship, I think, for a full season. That's where his level will be, or Premier League. I think we shouldn't consider Balogun as our second choice striker. Basically, it's unfair on the kid, and it's one thing that we need to have a look at as well. Look at the English players or young players that have come through and are now in our starting 11. Look how many games they've played before they've broken into the team. Saka's the only one really that hasn't had a loan elsewhere. Smith Rowe had his chance at Huddersfield and was at RB Leipzig. I know he didn't pay a lot, or even at all maybe, when he was over in Germany, but got that experience on loan. Ben White spent a season at Newport County, then went to Peterborough, then went to Leeds, and then was in Brighton. So that's 4 seasons he's played before he's come here. Aaron Ramsdale, you know, AFC Wimbledon player of the season, Sheffield United player of the season, Bournemouth player of the season, before he's come here as well. These guys have played a lot of football for such a young age, and I think it's the same for Balogun. Give him a full season of playing men's football. I know we've just seen that he's been, you know, he's finding his feet now up in Middlesbrough. He scored a decent goal at the weekend, and I think there's still opportunities for him there. But I'm also happy for Lacazette to go back to France. I think it's where he kind of wants to go. Lyon is probably the club which will give him the contract length that he wants, because I'm also quite happy with the sensible decision that we're making. You know, we offered, what was it, just an additional year to Lacazette, and Lacazette said I wanted 2 years, and I agree with us walking away, and I also agree with Lacazette saying 1 year isn't enough for me because of his current circumstances. And am I too worried about us trying to find a second striker? Not overly. I think we can find them. They'll be available as well. Everyone will know we need 2 strikers. We've heard a lot about rumours about who our marquee striker may be. We've not heard a lot about who we might be going for as the other option as well, who may be a second striker. But that will be the interesting thing for me. It's similar to when we thinking about someone like Tomiyasu. didn't really think we were looking for one. Or Ben White as well. Everyone said we had loads of centre-backs. Why do you want another centre-back? We ended up with Ben White, and he's now in contendership for player of the season. So I think, we're making good, smart decisions. And if Edu is ever looking for some options, he can always give me a bell, and I can tell him who's ripping it up at the Amex, and he can go back to Tony Bloom and give him some money for Alexis McAllister. That'll be my one for this week.
Talking about excellent decisions, Karl, this person's just done this in the Newcastle-Everton game. Zip-tied themselves, their neck to the post.
I'm assuming that's a protest about the war.
That's Hugh Furley-Whittinstall, isn't it?
He's nicked Jason Schrader's glasses.
Someone
is he
tried
over
to,
soon?
He is over soon. Rumours of his.
Someone tried to do that against
Last
It was our
night.
game.
Arsenal game, and they got stopped. They got stopped yesterday. So I'm assuming you're going to see it more and more.
I mean, it's certainly doing that is what's going to stop Putin bombing the western of Ukraine. Oh, Karl's had a nightmare. Sorry, everybody.
It is. It's just, I think there are ways to protest. That is not the way. I mean, we all know, what's going on in Ukraine is absolutely horrible. Like, genuinely, really horrible. And I get that people want, the world to do more, but is doing that really going to help? Because all you're going to do is get yourself arrested and have loads and loads of people really mad at you. So, it's bad what's happening in Ukraine. But, Danny, with this being a World Cup year, hello, Mrs. Sweetman. That's not Mrs. Sweetman, is she? She can't even do it.
She is Mrs. Sweetman, but she wants to change it to Ivory, back her old name. Don't you, dear?
Yes, dear.
Yes. Go and put that shopping away before you can taste the back of my hand. Don't hit me. Oh, she's small, but she's swift. What are you going to ask, Karl?
With this being a World Cup year, you're going to have a load of players who are on the cusp of getting into their national squad. That 6 month spell, or no, it's not even 6 months, is it? It's like 4 months. Who would want to play to try and get into the World Cup teams? Now, if you're trying to sign someone and you say to someone, you're going to be our second striker, do you think that would be preventing them coming to Arsenal because they're thinking, well, if I'm starting at Club A and I go to Club B, Arsenal, and you're not willing to play me and I'm trying to get into my World Cup squad, then why would I leave? Do you think it's going to be easier or harder to sign players based on it being a World Cup year and literally only having 4 months of the season before we have to stop?
That is a genius point, Karl. I never thought of that, because anyone who knows anything about football is looking, like we said earlier, there's 12 players in that Arsenal side. This summer, our best 11 are already here. Maybe Xhaka is the only one that... Xhaka isn't going to want to stay at a club. He's the Swiss captain. He's not going to want to stay at Arsenal unless he's playing regularly. And I think our plans in the summer are to get someone not... So there's possibly one position in the entire team that's up for grabs. And you're, like you're saying, Karl, I never thought about that. But if you've got the World Cup starting in November, which is 9 months away, why would you come to a club when you know you're not going to, almost definitely not going to get in? Lacazette as well. Sorry, there's two. I'm surprised you didn't shout at me, Josh. There's two, isn't there? Well, Haaland's taking that one. And the middle one's Jude Bellingham. We're double dipping it at Dortmund. So, but yeah, that's a good point, because you're not really want to go. If you're an established player, you're not going to want to go to a team like Arsenal, which is up and coming, and have to fight for your place, are you?
No, you're not. It's going to be, I don't know, Josh, what's your thoughts on it?
Well, I generally think we're probably not going after players of huge international pedigree that would be scared of losing the position in their national team if they didn't play week in, week out for their club side. I was just talking about who's our option for replacing Xhaka. I'd like to see Alexis McAllister. If McAllister then played, if we're in Europe, he's playing once a week, fundamentally. Any player who joins Arsenal when Arsenal are in Europe next season, up until November, is playing a game every week, which is more than enough for you if versus, say, we take somebody out of Leicester and they're playing once a week because they're not in Europe, and then we're in Europe playing once a week. It's the Pepe thing as well. He'll get games as well. So yeah, I expect us to be going after those players who either play for lesser nations or the talent pool is already so big. Imagine getting a midfielder who plays, who could represent France, as an example. Is there a chance he's getting, if he's not getting into the under-21s and isn't getting into the full national side, is he ever going to get a call up? That's the kind of players that we should be after, and there's definitely those kind of players that are out there. But yeah, I think there's plenty of players that will be available to us. I see what you mean about a striker, but I think that's where we'd be a bit smart about what we get as a second striker. But yeah, Danny is back on mute, I believe. So Karl, back to you.
So you're thinking more of like a under 21 option as a second striker to say, we are going to guarantee you at least cup games and possibly Champions. I mean, let's say we do well, you do get into Champions Leagues. Your main striker definitely is going to want to play both Champions League and League. But I guess with more games becomes more rotation. You don't have to play your starting 11 every single game. If you are playing against, relegation battlers, then you can afford to maybe rotate a little bit. So, it's gone.
I'd say there's players in, not every national side is decided by, or squad is decided by basically public opinion or media opinion, like the England team is. There are players out there that don't fit their national team's identity and necessarily don't get in their squad. I'm thinking, look at the Brazil lineup. Does Firmino start for Brazil? No. It's always someone like Richarlison, and Firmino starts week in, week out, as we say, for a team that is possibly top 5 in the world. Certainly in their best 11, if he doesn't start for them week in, week out. And I think that's the level that we're kind of looking at. There's always going to be players in there kind of 24, 25. Again, French striker, because it's easy to think of because they've got such depth in their national team. You could easily pick a striker up there who knows they're probably never going to make that team. And they're happy to still play week in, week out in the Premier League with chances in Europe, playing for a great side that's got a lot of footballing heritage as well. And remember, can actually pay them the wages. It's not like Chelsea.
I didn't know, you two, that if you finish 4th in the Premier League, it's automatic group qualification. There's no more Grand Prix qualification. So that means we're, like I was listening to you were saying, Josh, we've got more games next season, and so that's going to be immediately 6. And there's almost no situation where I think we're going to be in pot 2 when we qualify for the Champions League. And there's almost no way we're not making it out on the group stage. So we've got at least 8 games next season. Even if we didn't make it out of the group stage, then we're going to the Europa League. And there's so few teams. I mean, this Arsenal team at the moment, how many teams are there in Europe that we would struggle against? Because I was saying last night, Bayern Munich is the only German team because the rest of them are all rubbish. It's Real Madrid, possibly Barcelona now. The rest of them are all not much. Maybe Villarreal are pretty decent. And then in France, you've got PSG, but they shit the bed at a drop of a hat. Marseille look pretty decent with our players, 3 of them there. And then in Italy, well, there's no dominating team there. It's Napoli, AC Milan, Inter Milan, and Juventus, all of the top 4. And none of those, they're all beating each other and losing and stuff. So there's hardly any teams in Europe that I'm scared of with the team we've got at the moment. I think if we had a striker next season, which we're going to do, like you were saying, and maybe I'd love to see Jude Bellingham or someone else like that, another young Englishman come in. But I'm not worried about Europe next season. I reckon we could get to the last 32, last 16 with the team we got now if we could score.
I think that's a key thing there. I think it's definitely the key thing of putting the ball in the back of the net, and I think it's so vital that we get a striker this season and early as well. I think the Lacazette situation is kind of. We know what's going to happen. He's going to leave unless he decides to take a massive pay cut. But even so, even if he does stay, I don't want him to start next season. Like, if we get into Europe or the Champions League, could you imagine that Lacazette in the Champions League? He's not gonna do well, and that's taking no shade away from Lacazette, because he's done well for us this season. He's just not done the job that we want him to do, and that's put the ball in the back of the net. And if we can keep this squad together, because I can't see, I still am a little bit worried about Martinelli and Liverpool. I'll be very honest with you, because I've just got a feeling that Klopp or Liverpool can come in with some very ridiculous offer for him if Salah does leave, and because he definitely likes him, and no one wants that. We want to keep him, and if we can make some additions, this squad will be good. And I think we're also missing the fact that Arteta, he's in the last year of his contract as well, isn't he? So, and I don't know if it's just paper talk, but we've seen him being linked with PSG. We've seen him being linked from teams in Spain as well. So, it's kind of fight or flight time. And I think at the moment, I'm sure that Arteta is waiting to see what we do, like if we get into Champions League or not, whether he signs that contract. If we get to Champions League, he signs the contract. If he doesn't, then I honestly do think it's a little bit, ropey, because there's no reason why he can't. If he believes in what he's doing and this project, surely the project is not finished, so he should be signing a new contract. And the fact that he hasn't at the moment is a bit weird. Or maybe he has, and they're just not announcing it yet. Maybe they're going to announce it when we get into the Champions League, because that's something that hasn't been done before, has it? So, it's. I think there's a lot to do next season, but I'm quietly confident about next season because, and this is probably me talking with my rose-tinted Arsenal glasses on at the moment, because there's things to get excited about. We played Liverpool and we was the best team. Liverpool won the game, but we definitely was the best team, and that's not me talking as an Arsenal fan. I'm sure every football fan can see that there are improvements in this team. We have improved a hell of a lot. And if we can, I keep saying it's fine margins. If we can improve on those fine margins, then we will be a very good team.
Yeah, we will improve on those fine margins. That's the belief I've got in old Mikel Arteta. I think he can do it for us, and that's the big thing. Is you can see that the show of faith that everybody has had with him, and the difference at getting the kind of difficult players out. I know it's not necessarily been nice, and people have thrown it back in our face. Even our own fans have thrown it back in our face about how well one Mr. Pierre-Emerick Adebayor is doing at Barcelona right now. There's definitely plenty going on. But yeah, I think in terms of when you look at the statistics between that last game and we were pretty much toe to toe with Everton. Liverpool. Sorry, it's like I've been looking at fans getting stuck to posts in Everton. But yeah, we went toe to toe with Everton throughout.
Thunder's picking on you, Karl.
Yeah. Come on, Karl, talking rubbish. I think Thunder's in that mood though, because he doesn't like Alexis McAllister. I have to say he's the nicest little man. He's the best Argentinian number 10 that they've had in an entire generation.
So my Thunder likes to beat Thunder. How was we not the best team yesterday? The first half, Liverpool could not get near us. For 54 minutes of that game, we were the better team. That first half was one of the best first halves of football I've seen Arsenal play, because we were magnificent every man. Right? We got to the ball. We won nearly every second ball. Our passing was absolutely brilliant. We just didn't put the ball in the back of the net. And that's because, let's be honest, we don't have a striker. We do not have a very good striker. Yesterday, there's even that, the fact that Graham Souness at half-time spoke positively about Arsenal should tell you everything, because that man hates Arsenal. He never has a positive thing to say. And even everyone in the pundits were saying we were the better team. Like we played Liverpool off the park, and it just so happens that, you know, a few tactical changes at half time that we didn't adapt to, because I'm sure he pushed Jordan Henderson further up the pitch, which, you know, sort of put him on Thomas Partey. And fortunately, you know, Liverpool have the better players, but no one can't tell me that yesterday in the first half that we weren't better than Liverpool. Of course we was.
I agree, we were. And it's happened many times in the past. We haven't been the best team when we won the game, but Liverpool expected to win that game. Liverpool and Man City are two of the best teams in the world, and this year, as in 22, we have given both of those teams two of their hardest games. Against Liverpool in the League Cup away, that defensive performance we put on was absolutely stunning. And then what we did in the first 54 minutes last night was stunning. And we just need a couple more pieces. We are ahead of schedule, Josh, aren't we? I mean, I wouldn't have expected trust the process to be like this until maybe this point next season.
Oh, well, Danny, I knew all along. Josh knows, remember? Mr. Josh. I knew it would come good. To be fair, I didn't see us clearing out so quickly. And I think the fact that we are on for Champions League still at this time of the season, I thought maybe we'd probably do a step up Europa League first, but we're coming into an opportunity pretty well, especially when, as you say, we've got players coming to the end of a contract where there's the opportunity to get replacements of a world-class quality. So whilst it's annoying that, we got Eddie and Laka running down their deal, well, it's not like there's a complete dearth of world-class strikers out there available to us. The fact we've been linked with 3 or 4 of them already shows that if everybody is fawning over Haaland, gives us an opportunity to go in for Isak or Jonathan David or Calvert-Lewin on a cut price deal if Everton hopefully get relegated. Like, there's many options for us in that regard. So I think the project and the process has come to a decent level right now, especially if we get Champions League.
It is. Do you think Jude Bellingham would come to us, Karl? Because I didn't realise how young he was. He's still only 19, and for Dortmund last season, all competitions, 46 games and 4. This season, 36 and 6. He's 19, and he's played 10 games for England. Is that beyond us, or does he fit the mould?
I think it's beyond us. I think he will definitely be a signing for Liverpool because they're building that, and I think their captain is he's in his mid-30s now, so it could be a replacement for him. But I also think you need to, if we get to the Champions League, we have a much better chance of getting players of Jude Bellingham's quality. However, it's all dependent on how much money that the Cronkies are going to spend. You know, they spent an awful lot of money last season, and if we get to the Champions League, that's brilliant because that money kind of nearly recoups itself. But I think so much is dependent on whether we get into the Champions League, not even just Europe, Champions League, because the difference in money is astronomical between the Europa Cup and the Champions League. So if we can get there, then it will make Stan open up his purse strings just a little bit more and get the players that we need. I think it's brilliant that we've got the wage bill down so much, and the clear out has definitely helped us. We just need to make sure that we don't fall behind, because Man City will get a striker next season and they will become a better team. Depending on what happens with Salah, Liverpool are going to strengthen as well. They're definitely going to strengthen in midfield. 100% they will. Chelsea are up in the air at the moment for the simple fact that you don't know what kind of owner they're going to have. They're going to have a new owner, but just depending on whether that owner is going to pump money into the club. I've got a feeling that Chelsea are going to fall on their feet. and they are going to get the striker. They are going to get an owner who's going to spend money. That's got a really bad, not as maybe as much as Roman Abramovich, but they're going to have an owner that's going to put money into that club, sadly, and they're going to remain where they are. And you're forgetting Manchester United as well. They are going to spend money because that's what Manchester United do. They spend money, and sadly, as much as we may not want to admit it, Man United still have that pull of being Manchester United, sadly. So it's definitely going to happen. So it's not like we're going to have to pick up who we want. We are going to have to fight for definitely certain players, but there's no reason why we can't get players of the ilk of Jude Bellingham and Haaland. Maybe not those two players, because I think Haaland's got City written all over him, hasn't he? And you never know. You never know. But it's a hope, isn't it, that you do get those sort of players?
Yeah, I think there's one with certainly Bellingham. You look at players of his in his same age group, similar kind of quality that went immediately for the big jump. I think someone like Camavinga, who now has averaged, he's got 18 appearances in the league this season, but has only averaged 45 minutes a game this year. That's the kind of thing that you'd expect. Bellingham's got what he knows right now is a decent gig in terms of he's going to play every week and probably play Champions League, Europa League, after they got knocked out by Rangers. Well, they're not even in Europe at all. But if he went to a Premier League side, if he goes to Liverpool, is he starting in that midfield every single week? Potentially not. Certainly not doing 50 games a season like he is right now. And the same for Man City. Does he get in there? Not necessarily. That's what Arsenal can bring you. They can say, look, we can make space in the squad. You can take 50 games a season. Yeah, that's what I'd be looking at. And I think that's what players would also be looking at, that are coming to play for a progressive manager. It depends on the style of football you want to play. If you're not, if you like running around a lot, and you're not technically that good in terms of with your feet and with your passing, then yeah, go to Klopp's midfield. But if you want to play decent football as a midfielder with decent passing, intricate passing, and play pretty football, then yeah, come to Mikel Arteta's happy little club of boys.
Do you think we got all? God.
Plus, we've got all of our boys in the England squad now, haven't they? And they can tap up anybody else. That's been done before. And you've got to add to that the fact that Klopp is leaving at the end of next season. So I don't think he gives a fuck about the long-term sustainability of the players' contracts. He's going to want to win the league this season, which looks like they might do it. And then next season, he wants to do more stuff. And then, like he did with Dortmund, he left them in a shaking, ragged heap of bodies when he left there. Got every single bit out of them. And hopefully he does that with Liverpool. And then they have another 30 years of decay.
I mean, hopefully that's the key. But I think the price of Bellingham, is going to be much. And we're talking for Bellingham 75 mil, aren't you? But
if Partey was 50 million and has no sell-on value, then are we taking 75 million for Jude Bellingham, who could be in our midfield for easily 10 years?
The rest of for more than half his life, he could do.
Yeah, easy. I don't think it's a problem looking at that kind of money. And I think the Kroenkes will take it in that way as well.
But positionally, is he the player we need to play ahead of Partey? I think he is, isn't he?
He could play. That's the good thing about what Arteta has done, is what we now need is a lot easier to get, because there's a wider breadth of player that can do the job that Granit Xhaka is doing right now. Rather than where it was before, that you're like, oh, I need someone that can sit next to Thomas Partey and kind of be a bit more like Granit Xhaka of old, where they could be a solid-ish defensively, at least aggressive in a tackle, and then do that kind of playmaking from deep. You don't need that anymore. We've got Partey doing it. And I imagine, based on what Sambi said when he joined, that's Sambi's position as well, is the number 6. So we just need to look for a number 8. And I think that's the big thing. It's a lot easier to find that player that can slot in there, and Bellingham could be one of those. There's plenty more in world football that fit that mould based on the football we're playing now. So yeah, I think that's the big benefit that we've seen right now.
I kind of want to bring it back to football. And does Saturday's game against Villa mean it's a must-win game, Josh? Do you think we have to win that game in order to stay in the hunt for top four?
I think at the end of the season, it might not necessarily be that much pressure. But where I want to be right now is going into that run of United and Chelsea, and especially into the North London derby when they finally work out the best narrative place to put that game. Because that's what they're waiting for. They're trying to work out when the North London derby might actually mean something to Spurs. As I want to be making sure that we are 4 points clear of fourth, or 4 points clear of fifth at that point. That we know whatever happens that we are safe. So I want points on the board FC. That's us, Karl. We're not games in hand FC. We are points on the board, because you know what? After that loss against Liverpool, the fact that we still maintained in fourth position after a loss, that's what I kind of want to see now. I want to be in that position that if we do end up doing a bit of an Arsenal or a team, just outplays us one week, I don't want us to be falling out of top four, because it feels less and less pressure then. Or sorry, more and more pressure and less likely.
No, I agree. I kind of think it is a must win. I'll be very honest with you, because what I don't want is our mindset to then change. Because one, Arsenal fans are very fickle. Journalists are very fickle. One moment they're giving you praise, and Arsenal's definitely going to make top four. And if we lose to Aston Villa, then we go into the run of Chelsea, United, and so on. Is it the case of, Arsenal got that soft underbelly, you can't trust Arsenal, so they may not make top four? And I really want to. I really want to get back into the Champions League this season, genuinely, even if it's at the expense of Spurs, which I absolutely love. I think we need to get into the top four, and I think if we then don't get a win against Aston Villa, I don't want our heads to then drop, because it will. Lost to Liverpool, then go away to Aston Villa. It's not going to be great. And Aston Villa haven't been playing brilliant. People have jumped on this hype of Steven Gerrard. Oh, he's done brilliantly. I swear he's only won 3 games in 10 or something stupid like that. So they're not setting the world alight, but by no means is it going to be a very easy game. No means, especially the turnaround time as well. I think us playing lunchtime Saturday is atrocious, and I know Mikel sort of was not happy about it when in the press conference, especially after the scheduling of the Chelsea game. We just see, but unfortunately, Mikel, if we get to Champions League, this is what's going to happen. We're a team now that kind of people are going to want to see. So for TV fixtures, we are going to have to play maybe on a Wednesday and then a Saturday, because this is what happens, unfortunately. So I don't really get the moaning from Mikel. I understand what he's saying. He's pissed off, but let's be honest, we've kind of played one game a week all season. So it's not like the players are overly burnt out. I mean, I saw a stat on Twitter where I think they said Arsenal have played something like 34 games this season. Liverpool have played 54 or something along them lines. So I know we've got a small squad. Yeah, we've got a smaller squad, and I totally understand that. But
it's the test for it. See if it's going to work, because I think we might be in trouble. I mean, especially after the winter break, after the international break, we've got 5 games in 19 days, Karl.
Yeah, and unfortunately, and that's not accounting for any injuries that happen, in the international break. So for me, you have to get. I mean, going to international break after the Villa game, you have to get the points because you don't want to go into the international break with that dwelling on your mind, thinking, "Shit," when Spurs are now only 1 point behind, Manchester United are 2 points ahead of us, or whatever it's going to be. So, I do think Aston Villa is definitely a must-win game, and we have to go for it. And just a quick one for you, Danny. Would you make any changes for the Aston Villa game, or would you stick with the team that we've been playing?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think I would see on top of all of that. Like, it's annoying that I like to use the football manager analogy. You don't play your best players for 90 minutes every game, and a couple of them you take off with 5 minutes to go, and he hasn't done that. So if we need Tavares or Lokonga or El Neni, they've been sat on the bench twiddling their thumbs for the last month. And Eddie we've shown game after game, Eddie comes on and he's absolutely useless, does nothing. Pepe will come on and every third game he'll do something, but even if he doesn't do anything, he's still causing trouble. But then we've got Big Bob. But the lucky thing, Karl, that we've got with our squad is the Gilles Grimandi effect, where you've got a player. Normally a team has one or two players they play in any position. We got Suarez, who can play left back, right back. We got Tomiyasu centre back, right back. We got Smith Rowe can play anywhere across the middle three, and Saka middle three, Martinelli middle three, and up front. Odegaard can play a little bit deeper, play a little bit further forward, can play out wide. I think that's lucky that he has got 6 Gilles Grimandis in the club, where if someone does have to drop out through injury or lack of form or tired or any of that lot, another player will be able to slip into that position. I mean, if Saka doesn't play, we bring in a £72 million winger. I mean, how many other clubs can say they're going to do that? So I'd stick with it. But if I had to have a whisper in Arteta's ear, I'd say start utilising the substitutes a lot more, and rather than taking people off with 5 minutes to go, like with Leicester, 2-0 up, take 2 or 3 of our best players off. As long as they're not defenders and they're not Partey, then the forward ones take some of them off and rest them, because it's going to be coming up after this international break. That's when we're going to see if there's any trouble. But as for that question, Karl, I'd stick with the same 11. I'd love to see Martinelli play up front rather than Lacazette, but that's never going to happen. So we're just talking gibberish. So, yeah, keep it.
Yeah, I'll get it. Josh, there's been talk in the papers and also on Sky that the Premier League are thinking about going to 5 substitutes again, as it was in pre-pandemic. Are you a fan of that, or do you think it does favour the clubs with the bigger squads and leaves the little people with the smaller squads at disadvantage?
It would only do it if they didn't know about it coming in. They can plan for it. Like, there's the summer coming up. If they decide at the beginning of the season that we're going to 5 subs, then Sean Dyche, because I think that's what we mean when we mean the smaller clubs, we mean only Sean Dyche, because I don't think, looking at other sides in the league, they've got fairly substantial squads, and they've got decent players that can come in and rotate. Yeah, it favours us a slight bit more, but you could say that it's relative to the quality of that side. That I would say, looking, for example, at a Brighton side, if McAllister's not available, then you have Jakob Moda available on the bench, or even Adam Lallana if he's not, up in the hospital wards again. But you've got decent quality. You've got adequate quality in there. It may end up with you spreading yourself a little thin in terms of what you look for the player, but I don't think it would change too much in there. Mainly due to, if you're kind of a team that's sitting back and defending for 90 minutes, then you might actually, and I'm sure we'll see it straight away, since Sean Dyche gets 5 substitutes since the 89th minute and he's got a 0-0 draw and hanging on for dear life at the Emirates, he's going to be making all 5 substitutions 30 seconds after each other to break the game up as well. There's definitely ways of utilising that beyond just, can I have more better players? I think it will help us in the long run in terms of all players, that it's better for the welfare, and also better for players that are getting more minutes as well. Because we can see that a lot of players get completely overworked. and any opportunity for them to be able to rotate out and get the rest that they need, I think it's great.
Do you think our accelerated evolution of some of our players is because we're such a small squad?
That's a good question. Potentially, I think it could be that. I think what's happened with the evolution of the squad, in terms of we've got to a smaller squad, is now that Arteta, he's not got as much noise when he looks at the bench. You know, when he came in, it was okay. You need to pick your defence, and we had 9 centre backs to pick from, and he tried basically every combination you could. Take those away, and we're down to we've got Ben White's, Gabriel, Holding, and then that's it, because the rest are out on loan. It's made it a lot easier in Arteta's mind of what he's going to do, and you can see he's now got more coherent thoughts because we don't have all of those options. It's made it easier for him, and we know that we need more players, and we need better players and upgrades in places, but actually we also want more games as well, so it's going to be easier to deal with it. We definitely need to strip back the squad so it's easier for Arteta to get his ideas across as well. So yeah, I think it is a good question, and for me, it's definitely helped us having a smaller squad, and definitely helped the manager. But...
No, I definitely agree with you there, and I guess next season it'll be a good problem to have when we have got Champions League games and we do have a bigger squad, and you know, Mikel's got a plethora of players to choose from, and you know, it'd be great. Just to touch on Tomiyasu quickly before we start taking listeners' questions. Do you think his injury is worse than what Mikel Arteta is letting on? And I know, you know, Arsenal don't really like to reveal about injury news because you very rarely, I know they used to do injury watch at the press conferences, and now he doesn't do that. And the fact that he hasn't even been on the bench, do you think that, you know, I know he's hurt his calf, but do you think it's a bit more worse than what the club are letting on?
Well, he's gone over from, is Danny talking or is he talking to us? Who knows? He might be muted. But anyway, in terms of Tomiyasu's injury, I think and it's difficult because he's had the same injury in both legs. So he had his one calf injury, came back, and then did his calf in the other leg. So I think that's what makes it sound worse and more difficult, is because we see every week, Tomiyasu's been out for 8 weeks with, or however long it is, with a calf injury, when actually he's had 2 calf injuries in different legs, which is worrying that he's not come back. But I think I said a couple of weeks ago, I'd rather not force Tomiyasu back for him just to get injured. I'd rather get him back for one game. I'd rather get him back for 10 games than just one game and then lose him again. He's not going to go on international duty. So is that the fact of he can't go because he's completely injured and can't offer it, or we're going to start rehab with him? I think that's the big thing that I've got from there. I don't know if Danny's going to give us a symbol when he is back and available, or just stick a plum or cream egg in his mouth.
Cream egg. How do you eat yours? I haven't eaten it yet. I'd had my shopping done, and I forgot to get my mum something in the shopping. So I paid 12 quid for a Deliveroo just for the chocolate for her.
Oh, you're kind.
Yes. I was listening to that. Good points, Josh. I agree with everything you said.
Oh, that's awkward.
There's been, like Mark says, spot on, Josh. Another one who agrees with what you said. Going to get a big head now, aren't you?
Yeah, that's the real reason my hairline's going. It's the same amount of hair I've had always, but my head's just got bigger.
That is probably exactly it. Are we doing the questions now, Karl? They're saved under starred. There's a new system, Karl. You look next to live at the top. It says starred. Click on starred, and it's all the ones we've highlighted during the show. It's there for Josh. Yeah, but it's up to you, Karl, when we do them. You're the boss.
No, that's fine. I mean, like I said, the Liverpool, hear me. The Liverpool game was, I don't want to say a free hit because that's horrible to say, because it just seems like we just definitely going to lose the game. But I think that, unfortunately, we were just outbeaten by a team that has better quality in the whole squad, and they can afford to bring on Salah and Firmino and literally change the game, although they got a goal before, and that was it. Arsenal don't have that. Arsenal have Pepe to bring from the bench and Nketiah. I mean, if you really needed a goal, is Nketiah really going to get you that goal? No, he's not.
No, unless he's stat padding in the League Cup, he's not.
No, definitely. And, organised chaos from Pepe, which, is always good to see. But I think until we get that clinical striker who can definitely put the ball in the back of the net, we're always going to be talking about the what-if chances.
Oh, even when we have that clinical striker, we'll still talk about the what-if chances.
Yeah,
that
but then
still happen.
But we can still blame it on the clinical striker. We can say, "Oh, Isak, why the fuck? What we should have gone for Haaland? Look at that! Haaland's just scored a hat trick."
We'll be like, Jonathan David's doing bits in Serbian 7th division. Why didn't we get him after he went from Lille? There'll be something like that. I know that's how it tends to work. But yeah, should we do some questions?
Go for it, Joshua.
My first question is: has Danny finished eating his cream egg? And he's already answered that.
There you go. Nom.
Well, I'm going to ask Karl this question anyway. Karl, question from Kesh Studios. Why can't we adapt to play differently against a top side?
Iwobi scored. Iwobi has scored, Karl, in the 104th minute. It's the end of the world, Karl. Let's get naked.
I really want Newcastle. I really want Newcastle to go down. I'll be honest with you, but it's not going to happen this season.
I really want Frank Lampard to be exposed as a massive fucking fraud, but
he really is. He really is being exposed as a fraud. But I think we can adapt to play differently against it. I mean, you look at the games that we played against the top sides. We're going to discount the first game against Manchester City because that game was, with Xhaka being sent off. But the game against the Emirates, you look at how close we came to winning that game, or even taking something from that game. And it was literally, we were down to 10 men, so we lost a man again in that game. And that foul by Granit Xhaka with the penalty, which was ridiculous. So you think if we had 11 men on the pitch, would we have beaten Man City? Who knows? But I don't think we lose that game. Maybe we don't win, but we definitely don't lose that game against Man City. When we played Manchester United away, and we was 1-0 up, and it was just literally a foul by Martin Odegaard, wasn't it, in the box? I can't remember who he tackled, and Ronaldo managed to score the penalty. So we went away to Manchester United. Silly mistakes again, which Martin Odegaard, I can guarantee, will never make that mistake again. Liverpool away, we got battered. There's no excuse for that. We got absolutely outplayed against Liverpool away. We were just horrible. But Liverpool at home, was we that bad? No, we wasn't. So the potential is there to beat these top squads. And notice I haven't put Spurs in that because I don't class Spurs as a top side. But the Chelsea away, Chelsea home, we were battered when people thought that we weren't battered, but we were just beaten by when Lukaku was the best player in the world. And again, it was small margins when we could have won that game as well. So I don't think that we played badly against. I mean, the record shows that we are not very good against top squad. But if you look at the game as a whole, we play quite well in those games. It's just literally small errors and mistakes that we make that makes it seem worse than it is. So next season, will it change? I'll probably be sitting here with you two next season saying, we just can't do it. But who knows? But I do think that stats, at the end of the day, we got the L in that game. But did we play well in those games? I think we did.
Cool. Yeah, I kind of agree with that I don't think we need to change our style too much. It's clearly it is working better than it did earlier in the season. And And yeah, we've still got to play Chelsea again. It's a very different proposition to the team that started Chelsea as well. Didn't have most of our new signings that are now mainstay of our side. Danny, question for you from Tullby Full, or there may be a different way of doing that. I don't know. I don't care either. Tullby Full. Do you think we should start Pepe to give Saka a little rest on Saturday? ESL for Marty, and the next game's come in pretty quick succession after the international break. So it seems like we should keep the legs a bit fresher.
That would seem logical, because when Saka then comes on, he can come on either side. Because Pepe, although he's left-footed, he plays right wing. He's not that good on the left-hand side. So, but Saka doesn't care. He'll do both sides just as well. And it would make sense to drop those two and start the other two. But I think Arteta is sometimes, he expects more from the players than he gets, or than he should be able to get. And he is a little bit naive as a manager when it comes to substitutions and swapping players around, because all of us lot can see that you need to do it more often, and he's not doing it. And it's not like he's not doing it and things are working out magnificently. We're just lucky that we've only had one injury and one COVID in the last month. So I think he'd be in a lot more trouble if we'd had more injuries like most other clubs are getting. But personally, yeah, I'd swap him.
Okay, fair enough. I would probably, I wouldn't drop Martinelli at all for the game. I think he was too good to even be considered dropping him. But I would probably maybe start ESR over Odegaard. That might be an option if you wanted to rest a player. But I also don't think we need to rest them yet. Karl, do you want the quick question or the long question? Or the depressing question?
You choose, Joshua. This is your time.
Okay. Karl, this one's from Russ Morgan. Do you think if we lose to Villa, top 4 could be over? You can guess which one that fit into my 3 different ones.
No, it's definitely not. There's too many games to play, too many variables. So no, definitely not. Does it become a little bit harder? Again, it all depends on different results. Remember, Manchester United are not putting up trees at all. And that lot up the road have always got a clanger in them as well. And I think we are writing off West Ham. Like, West Ham are still up there. And we can't discount them in the slightest. But they've still got some difficult games as well. I mean, we've got to go to West Ham and play them. But
they're 1-1 on aggregate at the moment against Sevilla. So they've 1-0 at home, 1-0 away. So that's going to extra time, which is good for us.
I think it is. Let's hopefully get some injuries. But no, in all honesty, no. I think top 4 is between 3 teams at the moment. Us, Battle of the Road, and Manchester United. One of us will get it. But now, if we lose to Villa, it's definitely not over because there's too many games to play in this league.
Yeah, and we've got to play a lot of teams that are around us as well. As you say, we've still got to play West Ham, we've still got to play Chelsea, and we've still got to play United and Spurs. So
yeah,
there's 12 potential points for us.
If we drew any of those games, it might be okay because we're drawing against teams that are around us. And like saying that the jump from Wolves in 8th to Villa in 9th is 10 points. So it's only Wolves, Spurs, West Ham, Man United and Arsenal that can go for it. And I don't think Wolves have got the goals that they've seen against us where we beat them home and away in a short length of time. And Spurs just shit the bed at the slightest opportunity. The only time they ever turn up is when Kane sees it's a prospective employer managing the other side. He goes, "Oh, I better play well this game."
And that's why he played so well against Graham Potter. Question from Paul now for you, Danny. Would you take Richarlison?
Nope. He looks like to be a bit of a diva, the star of the team, and he's got Barcelona written all over him eventually. So I wouldn't want to incorporate him into a team. Plus, he tends to run very hot and cold with Everton. He should be a star player. Bloody hell, that Lacazette is killing me. A star player performing brilliantly every week, and he's not. But it was hard to perform when you're in a team like Everton. If you've got Fat Frank as the manager, eating all the cakes and wobbling around all the time.
Yeah.
So no, would either of you two take him?
No,
Carl?
No, definitely not.
Yeah, he's got a bad case of being a twat. Straight to Marseille for him, young man. And the final question to you, Karl, from Phil Macker. With a worldy striker and a new defensive midfielder coming in the summer, can we do well in the Champions League and still get fourth next season?
By well, do you mean win it? Because obviously the answer is yes.
Okay, then yes.
Clearly. Do you know what I'm really worried about? Newcastle. I think the fact that if Newcastle stay up, which it looks like they are definitely going to, they are going to spend serious money next season. And again, like I said, Chelsea are going to pull it out of the bag, aren't they? They're going to get an owner who's going to want to spend money, because if it's his first season in, he's going to, or they, sorry, because it could be a consortium, are going to want to prove to the fans that they mean business and want to spend money. So they are going to, definitely put some coins out and say, look, we mean business. Man City are going to spend money. And I think all the teams around us are definitely going to spend money. So it's going to be hard next season, definitely, to, again, get into the top four. I think the top two are always going to be the top two for a few years. Unfortunately, Man City and Liverpool, depending on what happens with Chelsea, depending on how much money the other teams spend. But I think, and I'm saying this now, people need to look out for Newcastle, because even though the manager's Eddie Howe, and it's Eddie Howe, let's be honest, I think he was definitely brought in to steady the ship and keep them in the league. He's done that. Now he's done that, what is stopping them from going for their established manager? Because they wanted an established manager, but no one wanted to take the job because of where Newcastle were in the league at the time. Now they're going to stay in the league and they're going to spend obscene amount of money. Of course they are. I think they are not a threat, but they're going to be a threat to the top four definitely next season.
I think it depends on if they spend well. That's the thing. Because anybody can have a rich sugar daddy and just throw money around. Look at Man United. Well, they spent £1.2 billion since they last won the league, and haven't had a league title since. Yeah, I can't see Newcastle being a threat for maybe 2 or 3 seasons. I don't think that squad, you can immediately pivot it to being a top 4 contender.
Especially with that long.
Yeah, look at the league. Look how strong this league is compared to when Chelsea bought the league. All they did, it was easy for them because it was a 2-team league at that point. It was only us and United, and we had just built a stadium, and they decided, oh yeah, they could take some of our players. And then Man City came in. It was only really a 2.5 team because we were currently selling off our players, trying to deal with the stadium. And then Man City was like, oh, we'll just take some of your players as well, and that will help us get into 4th and 5th. 4th and 3rd. And still, Man City weren't a threat for a title contender threat for 5, maybe more years until they got close to win the league, or when they did eventually win the league under Pellegrini. It took them a good old while. They had some dodgy managers at that time. Mark Hughes was one of them dodgy managers. Sven as well, under that kind of era. Mancini was there, but he didn't win the league with them, was it? It was Pellegrini that they needed eventually. But yeah, I couldn't see it happening.
Yeah, Mancini won the league. Mancini was
Aguero. Yeah. Oh, it was Mancini was Aguero. There we go then.
Yeah.
Just looking at Aaron Ramsey for Rangers tonight, he's played 11 Scottish Premier League. He's been at the club for 11 Scottish Premier League and the European run games. He's played a 4 minutes, a 14 and a 15 minutes out of 11 games.
Oh, he's playing more than he did at Juventus. Good for Aaron. Good for Aaron. Karl, that was the end of the questions. Yeah, back over to you if you want to do shout outs or close the show or continue talking for another 2.5 hours.
Fortunately or unfortunately, we don't have Chris Carpenter on the show, so we can't go on and talk about his hair or his trousers or why the French league is the best league in the world in his eyes only, obviously. So yes, we'll do gentlemen's nods / shout outs. Danny, because you're the most prepared person in the whole entire world, I'm going to assume that you have one lined up ready.
Certainly do. It's friend of the pod, Ola, Black Scorpion, at Black Scorpion 3. He's Nigerian and he's in a bit of a pickle at the moment. It says here he's having to now. I need to reapply for my residency in order for me to be able to continue working and looking after my family in the UK. But the UK BA fees, including health surcharge fees and lawyer fees, became so expensive and left me no other choice but to reach out to you lot. And he's after donations. He needs £3,500 so that he can do the application, stay in the UK, get a residence permit. He's raised £689 so far, but he's been on our podcast many times over the years. He was on the Transfer Deadline Day show. He does the boxing and MMA show. And so, yeah, if he's got a GoFundMe going at the moment, so if anyone's got any money they don't need, go and give it to our mate Ola, because he's a lovely, lovely man. That's it.
So wherever he calls. If you can, people go and do that, definitely. Joshua, who's your shout out to?
Oh, I don't really know who I've got a shout out for. Maybe for the Everton fan who protested oil by using a single-use plastic. That guy. That's who I'll shout out to. There you go, Karl. I got you mid-cough as well. Handing back to you.
Thank you. Good. My shout out is for all the Ukrainian people that are trying to stay safe. Genuinely, I hope you do. It's a terrible thing that's happening over there, and it's just really, really bad. The tyrants trying to take them over, and I'm not going to get political on this podcast, but it's just horrible. So, all the Ukrainian people, stay safe, people. And hopefully this stupid war is over very, very quickly. And that's my shout out. Daniel, that is the end of the podcast, Daniel. We've done it in under 2 hours just because Chris is not here.
Well, he is here in the top right corner. He's here in spirit. You look at him, he's yogaing his ass off as we speak. He's probably doing that.
Just flowing in the wind. Josh is jealous because he can't have luscious locks like that.
Oh, I could. Yeah, I was going to say.
That's more with willpower than anything else. No, Josh closes shuts the show now. He's got the buttons. Did it last time. I'm just going to sit here and wait for Josh to work the magic with the buttons because it makes him feel powerful, like Thanos.
Oh,
well,
yeah. So cheers for hosting, Karl. You're brilliant, and cheers, Josh, and cheers, you lot, beautiful bastards watching. So you tell him when, Karl, and you watch him scurry around and work his magic.
Oh, look at him. He's got the 5 stones of power in his hand and he's just ready to click his fingers. So people, thank you very much for listening. Until next time, take care and see you later.
#fuck Ellis.